Good evening, everybody. Blessed Sunday. Blessed feast of our Lord Jesus Christ, King of the universe. Quite a dramatic title. We might, to our 21st century American ears, hear the term king as anachronistic or out of place now. And yet, we close our liturgical year emphasizing this characteristic of our Lord. And next week is Advent, Thanksgiving week. Start the new year. We finish focusing on Christ's kingship. So when I hear the term king, of course I think about authority. The one who is in authority. The one who has supreme authority over everything and everyone. It's interesting that each of us, I think, responds to authority in our own way. Some of us are a little more submissive before it. Some of us are a little more rebellious. I personally don't do well with it. I could talk to Father Stephen about that. But we all respond how we respond. It's an essential part of life, a necessary part of life, order and authority. And we're all under some authority, whether it's the civil law, the moral law, the authority of our bosses, of our spouses, mutual authority of our spouses. If we're children, the authority of our parents. We have to answer to someone. So this feast gives us an opportunity to stop for a moment and ask ourselves, who really is the ultimate authority in my life? Is it Christ? Is God the authority in my life? Who am I really concerned about answering to? Because we don't really answer to our bosses or our spouses or our parents. We answer to God alone. That being said, we are subjects of the King of the universe. And as such, we're called to conduct ourselves with a certain dignity, a certain grace, a certain dignity in the way we treat ourselves, a dignity in the way we treat others, a sort of uprightness in our lives that must reflect the great King that we serve. All that being said, the most interesting point of our feast today is that when we think about Christ as King, sure, we could say he reigns gloriously in heaven now, but for the time that he walked the earth amongst us as one of us, that is not the way he reigned. He reigned from the cross. Of all the little gospel passages we could have to focus on his kingship, to highlight it, what do we have? We have a scene from his crucifixion. Of his 33 years and of that time, the 3 hours that he hung on the cross, that's the passage we receive to focus on his kingship, his crucifixion. A moment in which he would have, from an earthly perspective, been stripped of all dignity, of all glory, of all honor, of anything that would have identified him as a king, and yet this is the example that we hold up. That's what makes the example of the good thief so significant for us. I empathize with the thief, and what I think is most comforting is that this criminal next to him, whatever his life was, whatever his choices were that led him to this point of execution, all of it was wiped away. All of it was forgiven in a moment, just by asking our Lord for mercy. But he was able to, with the eyes of faith, see through the nonsense and identify Christ for who he was. He saw God in that moment. He saw the humility of God from his own position of humility and was rewarded for his mercy. Not only asking for mercy, but understanding his own position, the just condemnation that he was receiving, and in humility accepting that and still turning to our Lord for mercy. Very hopeful and encouraging for all of us, because Christ is not simply on the cross next to him or next to us. He's on the cross with him. He's on the cross with us. He doesn't suffer by our side. He suffers intimately with us. That's our King, a King who is not simply king, but a king, a friend, and a loving father. So in a few moments tonight, we approach the altar. We approach this same King who was on the cross in another form that is very modest and unassuming and stripped of glory. And it's an opportunity for us to stop and ask ourselves, where does my obedience lie? Am I a subject of this King as I should be? Can I open my heart this evening to receive his mercy, that I might one day also hear from him like the good thief, today you will be with me in paradise. God bless you.